Okay, so this is part 2 of my testimony. Um, anyways, like I said, I've all these years I've always could see dead people, hear, spirits. I was always told not to nurture that gift, that it was of the devil. So I went through a lot of struggles thinking I was of the devil or the devil's kid or something like that. And no matter how many times I tried to suppress my giftings, I couldn't suppress it. In 2000, I was drugged downtown, and because somebody was trying to take advantage of me. Was not obviously successful, but it had, I think, GHP in it, and so being spiritually gifted like that, and then with that mixed on top of it, I had very profound demonic experiences that any person probably would have had a heart attack and passed, to be honest with you. I can't even, I've tried to put it into words, the experiences that was taking place while this drug was getting out of my system. I was too afraid to go to the hospital because I didn't want anyone to think that I took this drug and get in trouble. And I knew the only thing I could do was just let it come on me, right? Let it work its way through. And so I had to call off work. I couldn't be at work. And so I was just in bed having these experiences 24/7, okay? To the point where I was bitten, I was lifted off my bed, my walls were turning black, things were manifesting, okay, in my apartment. I've been face to face with entities, reptilians. I was terrified, okay, guys? Let's just put it that way. I was terrified. My family thought I was losing my mind, despite the actual physical evidence. They didn't know what to believe, right? My sister always believed me, but my parents and everyone else, they always played devil's advocate. They're like, okay, well, we see the 6 on your leg, but you could have done that. They weren't there, right? Which I understand now, but at the time it's like, why would I do that? So guys, I'm telling you all this stuff is because I've experienced it. I've experienced a lot of different things, being forced to astral travel when I didn't want to astral travel, and learning about the different realms, right? The different dimensions, seeing what type of entities are there, seeing the different workings and what they do behind the scenes. And what I realize now, this was all kind of predestined it was like I was forced into it, right? And then I had an entity attach itself to me, where I first recognized it while I was in the shower, and then it literally would not leave me alone. It followed me everywhere I went, to work, everywhere, and to the point where I could feel it on me consistently. Okay, the more fear I had, the more I could feel it. It got to the point where I was too afraid to go to sleep at night by myself. I was wearing, I was Catholic at the time, so I was wearing like these different charms of saints that I thought were going to protect me. I had the crucifix. I never read the Bible at that time. I had a Bible. I dug that out, was trying to read it and understand it. I couldn't understand it. I remember my girlfriend got saved and was a born-again Christian that I made fun of her at the time when she became a holy roller, right, at the church. And so she was the only person that I knew to call. And so I was desperate. I was driving home and sleeping with my mother as a grown adult because I was too afraid to sleep by myself and breaking out in hives. So I finally found her information, called her, and her and her husband and a couple friends came over to pray over me. And so at the time I gave my heart to Christ, and I was considered saved, right? And so I was at the church, but these experiences were still going on. But at least having some form of foundation, some form of security, people I could talk to that understand a little bit of spirituality helped, but it didn't really. But I knew it happened for a reason, because it was teaching me about false religions too, right? And what they were teaching at the church and what I was experiencing and seeing were two different stories. And no matter what I did, I went to an exorcist myself. I went to the pastor. I've been baptized 2 times. Anointed, I don't know how many times, like with anointing oils. Even supposedly high-level, pastors with all these giftings who could heal. I went to them too. And I still was experiencing this entity attachment. No one could help me. And they all blamed it on me. They all said it's because I have an open door. I'm doing this. I must still be in sin. I must want this, or something like that, right? It was all these things that it was what I must be doing or not doing. It was a very lonely and depressive time. I went to a priest, I remember one time, before I got saved, backtracking a little bit. He asked me if I was in the occult. I didn't even know what the occult meant. I thought he meant a cult. I'm like, I'm not in a cult. He's like, no, occult. And I'd never even heard that word before. And I said, no. And he basically pushed me out the door, splashed some holy water on me, and kicked me out. So that showed me a lot about the Catholic Church. And then when I got saved, a lot of these people had no idea how to deal with spiritual warfare, how to deal with higher level entities. And I knew that, a lot more of this is going to be occurring, and the church is definitely ill-equipped on how to handle these things. So there was a lot of different traps placed for me by the dark energies through the church, that basically pushed me out of the church, which was a good thing, truly. Because what it did was got me alone again, right? Got me thinking for myself, seeking for myself, learning by just listening to my own gifting, to listening to Spirit. Spirit started opening up my eyes to energy, started opening up my eyes to false religions, different, what people would call conspiracies that are in the government, the world, stuff like that. I started seeing things, so I was going through an awakening, and I didn't realize at the time. So for those who are watching this, who understand, the more I was going through the awakening and seeing what's really going on around the world, right? And the more Spirit started speaking to me about energy, and I started really understanding who I was as a creator being, and that I was always looking outside of myself to be saved. Okay? When really you need to be knowing who you are as the creator, right? Because that's the whole reason why Yeshua came. And I also realized that Jesus wasn't really his name, because J was never even around when Christ was here, right? So there's a lot of false information out there to keep you enslaved. And once I really started seeing this, and Spirit started revealing all this stuff to me, is when I really started, the light bulb was going off, right? Really started to ground myself and realize who I was in the spiritual realm. And obviously, I'm a high-level, authoritative person, even from the past, to even be attacked in this way, right? Let's go to part 3. Talk about this some more.